second class offender, molestation of juvenile, battery of correctional facility employee, 15 years of hard labor, 1 year hard labor consecutive with any sentence. Parole eligibility date is 5/21/2012. Good time date is 7/18/2021. Full term date is 8/22/2021. Does that sound correct?
8/22/21, yes, sir.
Yes. Would you please answer Mr. Jones?
Good morning, Mr. Williams.
Good morning.
Good morning, Warden.
Hey, Mr. Jones, how you doing?
I'm good. We're going to start with you. What can you tell us about Mr. Williams?
Well, I've known Raymond Williams since, I guess, since he's been away 13 years now. He's done very well over the last several years. He's gotten his high-set diploma. He's attended Wiley College here at the institution. He's been involved in lots of programming here. He obviously had some issues. 2011, 2012, he had that pretty significant incident here at Wade that resulted in the battery of correctional officer charge. But really since that time, he's had a couple of write-ups, but nothing of, his behavior is much improved, and he's focused on reentry. He's been really involved in a lot of programming, and Raymond's focus is on getting out and being successful. And he's a different guy than he was 13 years ago when I first met him. He's come a long way. I got a lot of admiration for the progress he's made.
Good. Thank you, Warden. Mr. Williams, that might make you blush, those nice things about you. Huh? Tell me, Mr. Williams, about the battery on the correctional officer. Tell me what happened.
At the time, it was a sex offense going on, and I kind of had a nervous breakdown, which correctional officers really don't know how to deal with it. And I did resist, as in I put my hand behind the back. And during that time, a woman, she had got hurt, and I do take full responsibility for my actions. And I did, excuse me. She worked on the side where I was locked up at, and she talked to me, and I talked to her, and I apologized to her, and she accepted my apology. And since that time, I've been trying to do my best to come home to my family and to be more respectful to authority and to get my mind ready for society.
Well, as it happens, Mr. Williams, she does not object to your receiving parole today, which no doubt speaks to the exchange that you just told us about.
And also point out, Mr. Jones, that officer, she retired about 5 years ago, so she's actually retired and doesn't work here anymore. But she did complete her career up to retirement. She left here, I think, in 2015, somewhere around there.
Mr. Williams, you said that corrections is not prepared to deal with someone having a breakdown. What would you have had them do different?
If they would have talked me down, as in speaking to me, letting me know that it's all right, just put your hands behind your back. Doing that a few times, that would have calmed me down to where I would have been coherent to understanding the situation and complied.
But you think that they should have changed their behavior based on the inmate they were talking to rather than the situation, right?
I don't feel they should have changed their behavior. I just feel that if I was more spoken to deal, if I would have spoken to them, if they would have spoken to me a little bit sensitive, I would have been in compliance. I really would have. I have been through anger management, dealing with it. I know now on things on what I need to do to calm myself down, control my anger, and to respect authority, period.
Okay. If you were released on parole, Mr. Williams, where would you live?
I have a place in Orleans Parish. It's Orleans Parish, Louisiana sex offender house. This will continue on with my sex offense program. It's housing specifically for people that are sex offender and has been locked up more than 10 years. And they help you get on your feet and to be more productive in society. And it's ran by a lady called Miss Lisa Carey. And she's well connected with the parole officers, helping financial situations and so forth. She's well connected in that community, period. And respect.
Okay. What do you think you do for a living?
Well, I'm going to school for business management. I'm going to go back to school for culinary because I want to be a chef. That's what I want to be.
Well,
Raymond does have some health issues too, Mr. Jones, and he's got some problems with his hip amongst other things. So he probably would qualify for some form of disability, maybe not 100% disability. He's very capable. He's a very smart, intelligent guy. So, you know, he might could get some work in the, you know, an office type environment. Physical labor and things like that's probably because of the condition of his hip that he's seeing orthopedic about at LSU Shreveport. He's probably not capable at this point for physical labor, but he's very, very intelligent guy. He's doing well in the college programming. He did well on his high set test, and he's done well in all the programming that he's been in. So I think he may be employable, but just not in the physical labor field.
okay, thank you. Well, tell me what's the matter with your hip, Mr. Williams?
I did a hip replacement. I have degenerative hip bone. And that's basically because of the drugs.
So they've replaced it?
No, sir. I have
Okay.
to get this place.
You need to have it.
He's been seeing an orthopedic guy, and he's, for lack of a better term, he's docketed or scheduled for a surgery consult further down the road. But if he doesn't make parole, he will probably have that hip replacement prior to his release next year.
Okay. That's all the questions I have, Mr. Williams. Thank you.
Mr. Marabella?
Mr. Williams, are you on any kind of medication?
I take Viromeds because I have HIV status.
All right. I noticed in the sentencing minutes that the judge indicated that prior to your being paroled, he would request that you be approved by a psychologist. Has that been done?
For
Have you seen a psychologist?
For degenerative syndrome,
Gender dysphoria.
dysphoria.
Have you done that?
At this facility, it's not being done. I was going to do it once I went home, and I also have a approval for complete castration, which I will get that done once I go home too.
All right.
He's seen a lot of people. He saw our psychiatrist, Dr. Seal, and I believe he had the diagnosis of gender dysphoria while he was at a Balls Correctional Center. And then Dr. Seal, the psychiatrist at Wade, maybe had a slightly different opinion. He's not treating him with the hormonal regimen that a lot of the doctors are using, but he's just treating them through consult and therapeutic classes. But he has had that diagnosis, and he has seen our mental health department here regularly, as he did at the other institution prior to coming here, where he did receive the gender dysphoria diagnosis.
All right. Thank you. That's all the questions I have.
Mr. Jim Wise?
I don't have any, I don't.
Go ahead, I can now. No. He doesn't have any questions. That sounds like Mr. Jim don't have any questions. Okay, Ms. Pearl, would you like to make a statement?
No, I don't have any questions either. Thank you.
All right, would Ms. Williams like to make a statement?
Yes, please.
Go ahead.
So is this where I can speak on behalf of my brother?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Thank you for allowing me, and I'm sorry, I do have to read, but thank you for allowing me to speak on behalf of my brother, Raymond Williams. I want you to know that I am certain that he has been remorseful for the crime that he has that's led him, to prison, for the involvement of misconduct while in prison, and that he has been reformed and is ready for rehabilitation. Our mother and our family, all of us are asking and praying that you grant him to be released. And yeah, that's my statement.
All right. All right, thank
If
you.
you have any questions for me, I'm willing to answer.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Williams, would you like to make a statement on your behalf?
Yes, sir, I would.
Go ahead.
Since I've been at David Wade, in the beginning, it was bumpy. Since then, I have been in programs. I've taken Thinking for a Change. I've taken Living in Balance. I've taken Victim Awareness. I finished school. I'm in college. This is my third year. November of next year, I'll be graduating. I have a 4-year degree in business management. I've also had finished my sex offense classes. I've did 12-step programs, NAA, Alcohol Anonymous. I plan on doing things better than what I was doing. I am not the same person I came in here as, and I will not leave the same person as I came in. I'm doing better than what I was doing. I have a better outlook on life than what I had. I'm ready for society.
All right, thank you so much. Is the panel prepared to vote?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion for executive session.
Got a motion for executive session?
I second.
Got a second? Roll call, please.
Mr. Kelsey,
Yes?
Mr. Mirabella,
Yes.
Ms. Pearl,
Yes.
Mr. Wise,
Yes.
Mr. Jones.
Yes.
Be right back shortly.
That was a 6-minute break. I just wanted to fill you in on the length of time, which is abnormally long for these type of cases. Maybe they had a lunch break. Maybe they had a hard time reconnecting on Zoom. I don't know, but let's see what their decision was, and then we'll unpack it.
All right, I believe we're back. Can everybody hear us?
That's
Yes,
right.
sir.
Yes.
All right, is the panel prepared to vote?
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Mr. Williams, having reviewed your file, and based on your file, I was all set to deny your application today. The biggest reason, maybe the only reason why I'm gonna go the other way is seated to your right. And before you ever think about committing another battery on a corrections officer, remember it's the warden who has helped you today.
Yes.
I will tell you, however, that that more investigation may need to be done about the Orleans Parish Sex Offender House. And you, I realize, are not in an ideal position to do that investigation. However, I would encourage you to work with the transition specialist there at David Wade and try to determine, because we can parole you and you're not going anywhere unless probation parole approves where you're going after investigating it. So my vote is to grant your parole, which, as I said, will have to be approved, the location.
Yes, sir.
I want you to do NA or AA 3 times a week
Yes, sir.
until before, for now, of course, meetings have to be online, but there are hundreds available to you.
Okay.
After we're out in the open again, able to associate with one another, then I want you to go to the meetings in person. I'd like to see you do community service of some kind, 4 hours a month, and a curfew from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m.
All right, Ms. Wise, Pearl Wise.
Sir, Mr. Williams, in reading your file, I really had a hard time with your case. And I'll tell you what concerned me is that your victim, who was 14 at the time, is now a DOC inmate. That really does concern me. But in the view of what the warden said, that's what's really having an impact on me, how you have changed. You have demonstrated some change. And I want to encourage you to continue on that path. So my vote is to grant. You have completed sex offender treatment programs. Both of your victims are unopposed to your release. That speaks volumes for me. Your victims are unopposed. They don't mind you getting out early. And I concur with the conditions that Mr. Jones has set forth. And I say to your families now that they need to begin to look for a place for you to live that's is in compliance with the sex offender laws. And all of those sex offender requirements are on, you can find that on the internet. You can look up Louisiana sex offenders and you'll find all the rules about where he can live and all that, because he's not going to go anywhere until he gets approved residence plan. But again, Mr. Williams, you got a long road ahead. Although you've been granted, you got a long road ahead.
Yes,
Good
ma'am. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Marabella.
Mr. Williams, like Mr. Jones indicated, when I read your file, my inclination was likely to deny your parole. After listening to the warden and talking about what you've done and how well you've done, that has changed my mind. But I am very much concerned, as Mr. Jones and Ms. Wise has both pointed out, about where you're going to be living. So I'm willing to vote to grant your parole, subject to, of course, the approval by the department of where you're going to be living and what the program is going to be. And I believe it goes without saying, a condition would be that you follow all of the sex registration rules, etc.
Yes, sir.
All right, Mr. Jim Wise.
At this time, I'm gonna vote to deny. I went over this case back and forth here, and I understand, and Mr. Goodman knows I've always, whatever he said, but there's very, very strong opposition from the 2 sentencing judges, also 2 district attorneys, 2 sheriffs, and 2 chief of police. There's very strong opposition on this release. And today, and another thing, you need to be working on you a residence plan, a stable residence plan for when you get out because of some of your conditions. Today, my vote is to deny your parole.
All right, you have 3 votes to grant and 1 to deny. I'm also going to vote to deny your parole due to the law enforcement opposition. And I just having a good, stable place to go is concerning to me. I don't think, where that plan is doable. But today you have 3 votes to grant and 2 to deny. Your parole's been denied. Thank you. And I think we'll be closing out at David Way. Thank you, guys. 11:45 a.m. Y'all have a great day.
Thank you.
I thought
Well-
it was supposed to be-
Okay, I mean, I have to admit, I'm confused about there being 5 board members for a parole hearing. I don't recall ever seeing that. Like, they may have a 5-member board for commutations and pardons, but then they see a regular parole hearing. I'm a little confused, but it could just be that it was a happenstance, a coincidence that they had commutation hearings that day, and then they decided to keep the whole board there for just regular parole. But a few things that I feel like pointing out here is until Miss Y spoke at the very end about the 14-year-old victim, that victim was not mentioned a single time. He's in prison for what he did to that 14-year-old boy. And all they care to talk about is what he did to a guard. And that's just blows my mind. And then on top of it, Miss Wise brings it up. She's concerned because he's in the DOC, but I'll grant you anyways. It's crazy. It's real crazy. And you see that, I mean, even at his parole hearing, and yes, if the warden didn't speak so highly of him, because these wardens don't do it that often, I do believe they all would have denied. But, you know, if he had, but he actually blames it on the staff. If she would have done something differently, he wouldn't have beat her up. If she spoke to him with more respect, he wouldn't have beaten her up. And I'm not in denial. If there's anything that I'm sure, you know, it's very clear. I'm sure they don't, you know, they could probably do a better job de-escalating the situation through speaking, but that's not the point. I think we see a lot of dash cam and body cam videos where we're all yelling at the police officer, or if we would see it at, I'm sure at the DOC corrections officer was saying, why didn't you just talk nicely? But again, that's not the point. He still took physical violence on her because she didn't speak calmly to him, and that doesn't make any sense. And then he still says that at his parole hearing, which just goes to show there's not, and you want to put him on the streets so that what's going to happen when he's on the streets and someone doesn't talk nicely to him? And you've got to, you know, those guards, they are paid minimum wage. They're dealing with the most stress and anxiety. You know, I recently read a book about investigative reporter who got a job in Angola so he can report on it. And he was there for, I think, almost a year. And he, gosh, I mean, just from his perspective, what he put in the book, it's every day to get up there and go work in these prisons. It's a tough job, and you're getting paid nothing. And there's like no room for growth, really. There's not much room for growth. They claim there is, but you know, these are publicly traded prisons. They're companies. It's money driven. It's profit driven. Then he talks about how he's approved for full castration, which does sound great, but he's, you know, the bottom line is that unless it's written through proper legal way, you just can't take it for because he says he's approved for it. We have seen cases in Louisiana too, where they legally agreed to a shorter sentence for getting chemically castrated if he had that documented on paper. But he used the words, I think, full castration, and then he also brought up the degenerative dysphoria. And I'm not going to comment a lot on this. I don't know a lot or very much at all about this. From Googling it, it does seem to be the basically where a part of your brain thinks that you're the opposite sex. And I'm not quite sure what that has to do with him assaulting children. So I just, you know, I whatever. I'm just not going to. but again, I think it's just complete disgrace for the victim. And then they say, they also say, but both your victims are unopposed. And what do you think? Do you think, I don't know how old he is now, the victim, but do you think if you're a victim in the DOC, in Department of Corrections, and you get sat down with someone there and says, hey, by the way, the person who did this to you, who's also in the Department of Corrections, who knows what his relationship and his status is in prison, but he's been there longer than you, so you might assume and how these clicks work, but do you want to object to him getting released? I mean, you would just think by default for your own safety, you're not going to do that. We saw that happen once, but it was in a woman's prison. And they were both, so, still you might say, who knows, it still could be dangerous for a woman to oppose anyone getting released in any prison. I don't know enough about this, if someone who understands the politics of prison, but I can very, very well get to the point where I cannot take for face value his victim saying I'm not opposed. I can't bring any credence to that, because what if he's just knows that he can't oppose for his personal safety? And they bring it up. He's not opposed. Okay. Like, just use a little bit of logic. Even if there's a 20% chance or a 30% chance that, or a 5% chance that he's in fear for his life by opposing, shouldn't you take that into account? He's locked up. Anyways, it is a disgrace that all they focus on was what he did to a prison guard and not why he was there to begin with. It's just that this is why it's so important that assistant DAs show up, that there's someone to show up that represents the child. Because otherwise you have a hearing like this. But thank you again, Richard, for bringing this to light to me. And with that, I'll let you go.